Welcome to the Alec Diaz Show. My name is Alec Diaz, and I'll be your host. Let's go! This is how you do it. Hey, hey, hey. This is how you do it. Oh, yeah, 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 yeah. This is how you do it. This is how you do it. Let me try something with you. I'm going to say a word, and I want you to picture it. You ready? Dog. Simple, right? Except, what did you actually see? Some may have seen a golden retriever. Some may have seen a pit bull. Maybe it was a dog that you had as a kid. One word, one syllable. And every single person hearing this has a different image that was pictured within their head. And today I live in Costa Rica. So the word for dog is perro. So someone who may be only Spanish speaker, when they hear the word dog, they may not have a clue of what we're even talking about. And that's exactly what we're going to get into today. A thought that started in my head turned into a word. It traveled through the air and landed on an ear. And somewhere on that trip, it changed. It almost always changes. Most people have no idea how communication actually works. And that's the most biggest single reason why there's so much miscommunication out there in the world today. At work, on teams, within families, in marriages. So that's what we'll be diving into today. And welcome back to the Alec Diaz Show. Woo! Let's go. Let's think about what happens for me to get an idea out of my head and into yours. It starts as a spark in my brain. And then I turn that spark into an idea. I wrap the idea into words. Then my mouth starts to make sounds. And then my mouth turns those words into sounds. The sound will then cross the room and hits your ear. Then your brain must unwrap all that was said and process an image and build my idea again inside of your head. And that's about 5 or 6 steps. And at each point, there could be something that breaks. I might start with a fuzzy idea. I might pick the wrong words to articulate myself. You might mishear me or not hear me clearly. Or you hear me just fine and turn it into something that it was never meant to be turned into. The word leaves my mouth as dog, but in your head it landed as pit bull, Rottweiler, or some other animal, and sometimes even a question mark. And here's the rule that comes out of that. The simpler it is to say, the easier that it will land. Big sentences and long words are usually where communication dies, and your messages never hit, and your audience is almost never the same. And who you actually speak to would be the formula for how you would shape your words. How you would explain a project to your engineers may come across completely different to someone who you're going to raise some capital. Or the way you speak to your mom may be completely different from how you speak to your best friend. If you want to be understood, you must start respecting the way that you may be misunderstood. And there's an old principle within engineering that's called the KISS method. Keep it simple, stupid. And I know the word may sound a little bit mean, but let me get into it. The KISS method phrase was coined by an engineer named Kelly Johnson, who ran Lockheed's Skunk Works. And stupid was never really aimed at people. The point was that a fighter jet should be simple enough where the average everyday mechanic could come in and fix it on the field under pressure and with basic tools. If it wasn't, the jet was useless, no matter how brilliant the design was. Simple wasn't lazy, simple was the whole job. Now, in regards to your own words, studies have proven that the average American struggles with any words above the eighth grade reading average. And the MAA, the NIH, the CDC, they all have told healthcare providers to write health info at the eighth grade reading level or below. Because when lives are on the line, it must be simple and easy to understand. The pros keep it simple on purpose. But let me be honest with you, most communicators that get up and they start using these big words, most of the time they're just doing that because of their own ego. When someone gets up and uses big words that nobody could follow, it's usually not smarts. It's most likely ego. They're performing for themselves. But the best communicators, they actually do the opposite. They bring their words down a couple reading grade levels, not to talk down on people, but to reach a wider audience. Keeping it simple is all about caring for the other person, because if you have a message that is valuable, then that message must land home so that people could connect, people can relate, and people can actually understand what you're trying to say so lives can be transformed. And one of the world's greatest communicators, Jesus Christ himself, used parables, stories, talking about sheep, seeds, and all of these different things of the world so that he could connect with farmers and fishermen. So if he did it, then we definitely should operate in that same line so people could understand, people can relate to the message that we're trying to get across. And I'll tell you this, why I'm so passionate about communication is because I spent over 10,000 hours in project management and leading teams and running initiatives, going to schools, speaking, hosting workshops, writing books, and mastering communication is the number one way to land home a message. And I found that the more I learned to communicate, the better leader I actually became. And I wouldn't say I'm the master at communication or I'm the best at public speaking, but I have learned a couple tricks and tips that I would recommend to you to help increase your knowledge on communication so that you'll be able to take your communication to the next level. What I'm sharing with you here today is what I use to run my business, X Convergence, an IT consulting business, autonomous AI, and AI operating system for solopreneurs, where I have to lead teams and work with my clients, and even the intergenerational strategist, one of my first books that I most recently published that's currently on Amazon. And all of those projects and initiatives, they're all wrapped in what we call communication. I would not be able to do any of these initiatives without having a level of communication that will allow me to get my points across, lead teams, and support the clients that I have currently today. But let's bring it back and zoom out a little bit because the story of communication is pretty wild. And it's actually where my book actually begins. I opened the intergenerational strategist with a farmer. In Iowa in 1925, standing at the edge of a field, a farmer stood. He was watching a tractor do in a single morning what used to take 20 men in a whole day. He wasn't afraid, but he also didn't know what was coming. And within 15 years, 2/3 of the farm hands within his county were gone. But those who seen the shift early, who learned to run the tractor and start to implement it within their own farms, they ended up running even bigger farms than what their fathers had even dreamed of. Communication has been running the same game since the dawn of man. We started with grunts and hand signs and gestures. Symbols became language. Maybe the most complex thing people actually do is communicate. Over time, the brain grew its language wiring. Grunts became sounds, sounds became symbols, and symbols became language. Maybe the most complex thing people do today. Then we spent thousands of years trying to send it farther and faster. We use smoke signals on the top of hilltops to signal for danger. We use carrier pigeons, flags waved at sea, the Pony Express carrying letters across the West, and even camels walking a distance across the desert. Then electricity came, and telegraph started to allow us to communicate within Morse code. The radio took off in World War One. Then the telephone came, and the phone of today wires the whole world together. In 1989, that's when the World Wide Web came. And then the iPhone, or for some people that like green bubbles, the Samsung. And now today we have AI and artificial intelligence that is our partners in crime. And now BCIs are coming about, brain computer interfaces, where you don't even need to speak. These computers read your brain frequencies and allow you to communicate telepathically. People could talk without saying a word. And that's a verse in Ecclesiastes 1. I put this at the front of the same chapter. There is nothing new under the sun. This timeline proves it. Every generation believes that tech has changed everything. But if you look closer, every one of those jumps just upgraded the tool. Faster, clearer, cheaper. Not one of them upgraded the skill. A pigeon could ship a message across the whole country, but it still can't land home the message. Fiber optics could ship information at the speed of light and still deliver something that nobody feels. But the need never changed. And that's the need for humans to connect. And only the tool that carries it keeps getting rewritten. And the tractor in the field of today is AI. And the one thing that AI cannot do for you is to connect. And that's the most valuable skill that you can have today, is to learn how to connect. So let's talk about the part that technology cannot touch. So when you communicate a talk, a pitch, a hard conversation, the audience usually does three things. They cheer, they cry, or they change. If none of these three happen, you didn't communicate. You just talked. Noise left your mouth and nothing moved on the other side. And here's the line that reorganized how I think about this. Your audience is usually done before your points are actually done. Nobody actually goes and remembers a full lecture or a speech to every single individual point that you bring in your slides. But what they do remember is how they feel. Did they feel like they could connect with the actual communicator? They remember how they felt connected. So finishing your material is actually the wrong goal. That's what we call being content oriented. And when you actually see the audience lean in and they're actually listening, that's when you need to double down on that same point to stay in that zone and to truly connect on that point. Don't rush off to your next point to cover everything. Sit in that moment for 10 to 15 minutes if that's where the connection is. Be less in the content and more in the connection. And less is more. Success is not getting through your slides. Success is people walking away feeling like they connected with you. And you can't reach people by putting yourself on a pedestal. So drop the urge to be an expert, the star, or the know-it-all in the room. What actually connects is the opposite. And be real. Hey, I don't know everything. I haven't arrived yet. Still on the way and I'm still learning. Be something people feel like is real. Be something that people could actually relate to. Because I know you have something worth saying. But we must drop the act of having it all figured out. Don't put the audience in front of you like a jury that you have to win. Put them beside you like a friend going towards a destination. And have some fun. You can't be funny if you're not having fun. And if you can't laugh at yourself, you're taking yourself too seriously. And most of the time that opens you up to blind spots. And here's the part that most people miss. The point of communicating was never to inform. If your motive for opening up your mouth isn't to provide value and move people towards a positive action that actually improves their lives, you're missing the boat. And most people say that knowledge is power, and I completely disagree. Applied knowledge is power, because you can have all these facts in the world, you can have the step-by-step roadmap, you can have the step-by-step strategy, the playbook, and the know-how of exactly what you need to do to get to your destination. But if there's no action, it's useless. A great talk isn't just a talk that is spoken well. A great talk is a message that actually moves people towards a defined result where people are going to get up out of their seats and actually take action on the lesson that you have taught them. It's the one where you added real value and people got up and made a change in their life because of it. Now, how do you actually move people? It's not just enthusiasm or excitement making everyone to get up and clap. Because have you ever been to an event and you feel all these feelings, these emotions, you're all pumped up and motivated, and then by the time you get to the car, all of that motivation just cools off? How you know if your speech actually lands? Sometimes you can't even tell within the actual same date. It's from the audience actually leaving the event, going home, applying the lessons, and sharing the results of what they experienced from the conversation that they had with you. Enthusiasm and excitement will get people daydreaming about their goals, but excitement alone will never get them off the couch to actually do something with their life. People take action when they feel it, when they actually have a conviction, a burning fire inside of them that pulls them towards their goals, that makes them get up out of the bed in the morning and have a why, because I need to do this or I'll die. That's the type of conviction we want our listeners to have when they encounter us. We don't want them to literally feel like they're going to die, but the concept is the same. We want them to feel a burning desire that they need to go and apply this information because that's what's best for them. Emotion is the bridge, but watch this, because here's the deeper cut. A thinking man who takes action is greater than an emotional man who takes action. And that's every time. Don't just stir up a feeling and walk away. Stir the feeling, but then show them how it's done. Clearly taking them step by step and showing them how this is genuinely best for them. Emotion opens the door and clarity allows them to walk through it. Great communicators keep asking a few quiet questions. What do I want them to know? Did I actually help them? And the one that most people skip, what do I want them to actually do? Because you have to make the ask. You're responsible to people, but not for people. Your job is to hand them the way to win, but you never could drive home with them and live it out for them. They have to buy into it themselves. So ask them to commit. Tell them to say it out loud. Most communicators pour everything into the message, but never ask for them to make the decision. Some days you'll think you crushed it, but didn't connect with anyone. Days you think you stumbled, but you actually impacted and changed lives. You may never even find out, but you can't control that part. But what you can do is showing up, serving people, and making the ask. Communication is how influence travels. And this show keeps coming back to that same idea. Leadership is influence. And those who cannot communicate cannot lead. No matter how good the idea is, it must land into someone else's head. We spent over 50,000 years making the medium faster. As I told you earlier, if I don't ask you to do something with this, I missed the boat. So I'm going to practice what I just preached and make the ask. Someday throughout this week, you're going to have to communicate, either to a partner or a coworker at work, or give some type of presentation. And before you actually go into that talk, I want you to answer 3 questions I want you to write down on paper. What do I want them to know? What do I want them to feel? And what do I want them to do? Then walk in, keep it simple, put them beside you, not in front of you. When the moment leans in, stay there. And at the end, and do the thing that almost nobody does. Make the ask out loud. And that's it, because it starts with one conversation. And over time, you'll get stronger and stronger and stronger and become a better communicator. So will you commit to that? One conversation this week, and say it out loud if you have to. I commit. And thank you so much again for joining the Alec Diaz Show. It was a pleasure as always to be with you here today. And I'll see you on the next episode. Hey, it's Alec David Diaz. And if you haven't got your copy of the Intergenerational Strategist, go ahead and click the link in the bio and you'll have access to go ahead and grab your copy. Many people have already started receiving their books and leaving great reviews. So I really appreciate every copy that is sold. It genuinely supports the channel and it helps me make more content like this today. So if you enjoy the content and you want to support the channel, go ahead and click the link that's in the description. And tell me what you think about the book. Leave a review. Have a blessed day. Thank you.